All right. Good evening, everybody. Day 16, as always. Congratulations. Happy to see all of you participating so consistently. Um, I'm excited about today, right? With what we just did over the last 2 days, right? The Prachin challenge, holding our arms up and over our head. It was like a deeply physical and sort of aggravating, intense practice style. Um, what we're going to do today, and I think it's notable to sort of commit to or to highlight. This is the first day that we're going to actually take the time and interact solely with the mind. And so up until this point, we've, all our techniques have been committed to organizing our bodies or restructuring our breath or humming or chanting or holding our breaths or opening our eyes to give us sort of a foothold into the more subtle experience of mental nature. And so before we get into the subtleties of the mind and how to interact with it, let's just highlight the three reasons, of many reasons, why we are participating in this sort of practice. And the first reason is suffering or the reality of distress, the reality of dissatisfaction. Suffering is a very intense word, a very dramatic word, but the ancient practitioners, the forefathers of this hobby, they were, dramatic, poetic, philosophical people. The philosophies express that attitude. But suffering can range from impatience and boredom to severe depression or intense anger. Any little thorn that suspends the sense that life is deeply blissful. As a meditator, especially while you're meditating, you want to consider that is suffering. And the point of this practice is to extract all the thorns of suffering from our experience by really polishing the mind. Again, the body was just sort of a doorway to the mind. And the second reason we meditate, again, whether you know it or not, is to discover a deeper dimension of yourself, to define yourself in what intuitively feels like in a more sincere way. And if if we all take the time to contemplate who we are, who we think we are, who we want to be, we all have a vague, ranging, maybe vague, maybe very concrete concept of ourselves. But if we mull it over for a moment, the existential questions of why any of us exist as individuals, why the universe exists as a reality, the yogis and meditators tether these, really cosmic questions to the mystery of self or to the false defining or false associating of self. And so we meditate to really come to terms with our existence as individuals and not necessarily our names and our personas, but again, our sheer existence or our sheer reality. And then the third reason why we meditate is because we are attracted, for whatever reason, to this internal space. And we spoke about this a few sessions ago. Vairag, right? That dispassion with the world, that sort of boredom with external entertainment or social circles or hobbies or career, as that dispassion in what might be labeled as depression starts to emerge. Meditators take it as a great sign that now you're finally ready because you're being compelled to look in a new direction, and that direction is inside. So we have these 3 points. And so today we're finally going to get into interacting with the mind itself. And so there are 3 more points that I think are worthwhile to note. The first is before you meditate, and before you've sort of entered the richness of maturity, the mind doesn't exist, right? A teenager, a child, they're just interacting through the freedom of their own being. And at a certain point in our maturity, we start to become very present to our own thought process and our own theories of who we are and theories of who other people are. And so for a while, mind is not a reality. It's not a question. But then all of a sudden, for whatever reasons, usually again the arising of suffering or distress, we start to pay attention to this this inner environment and the voice in our head. And at that point, the mind becomes an obstacle. And I would say when you're beginning your practice, and for a long while within the meditative sort of pursuit, the mind is an obstacle. And the languaging of meditation sort of, presents the mind in that way. And it has its value in perceiving the mind as an obstacle. It's mostly speaking to its negativity or tendency to be negative or tendency to be scared. And so the mind is an obstacle. But then, after you develop a certain skill within your practice and a certain openness and a relationship to consciousness and a relationship to compassion and inquiry, the mind becomes a miracle. And so just sort of like taking a second to consider these three phases. The mind is at first nothing. We're all past that. Then the mind is an obstacle, and eventually the mind is a miracle. It might inform you on how to interact with your thought process when you're tackling it head on today and for the next following sessions. Cool, and now sort of what's the technique? The definitions of meditation according to the yogis, the first is meditation is the full restraint of the thought process, meaning if you are still thinking, if you're still analyzing, if you're still like remembering things or planning out your day or interpreting your immediate moment, then you're not fully meditating, because thoughts and what they call chitta vritti, or the waves of the psyche, are still sort of rolling through you. And in that, they're distorting your relationship to the moment as it actually is. And so meditation is the full restraint of the thought process. And then the second sort of like add-on to that is when your thought process is fully restrained, and that's an incredibly difficult feat. But when it is, if it can be, that person who has restrained their thought process completely finally experiences their truest nature. And from that truest nature, suffering dissolves, and sort of an unprecedented level of connection and understanding emerges from within them. But it hinges on true nature, and it hinges on a full arrest of the thought process. And then the final add-on is that when you are not in that true nature, when you are a little impatient, when you are sort of being pulled or swayed by really ordinary thoughts, you become those thoughts. And so if we step back and think about our practice yesterday, the arms held up and overhead, the thought of discomfort emerged, right? The interpretation of a sensation, the thought arose, and then you became uncomfortable. And sort of the magnetism between our own experience and the mind's interpretations is so strong that we assume the identity of these thoughts. And so this is the big point. When the mind is not a reality for you, when you have no awareness that the mind is anything to question, you respond and react impulsively. You are your anger, you are your happiness, you are what you want, you are what you don't want. But at a certain point, we start to question ourselves, and in that we try to rip ourselves away from that influence, which is what we're all trying to do now, to perceive a new experience, or to perceive a new way of being from within ourselves. Okay, and so these three ideas also sort of help us understand why exactly we're trying to still the thought process completely. Awesome. And so what are we going to do today? We're going to scan our bodies, right? And so I'll cue you to feel your eyes, I'll cue you to feel your mouth, I'll cue you to feel your chest, and we're just going to sort of run through the entire body feeling. And so as you feel, and as I speak right now, it's like take a second to feel the tip of your nose. The mind has touched the tip of your nose, right? You're more aware of your nose now that I instructed it than you were previously. And now take a guess at where I'm going to sort of suggest that you feel next. No one knows. Feel your left shoulder blade, right behind you. And now, because your mind is feeling the shoulder blade, it is more real to you than it was previously. And so this is called the rotation of consciousness. And what you're trying to do is feel the movements, feel the anatomy of perception, of consciousness through the canvas of your body. And so we're going to scan the body for about 10 minutes. And you're going to get a sense of what it feels like for the mind to move. And then I'm going to let you sort of do it on your own, rather instinctively. And you're going to see that the mind, right, the brain is always scanning the body just to make sure there are no injuries, just to make sure that everything is running accordingly. And then through that study of how the mind moves, and through the study of like feeling perception touch the body, right? All of this data is collected as you're meditating. You'll find that you are more capable of literally stilling the mind in one place. And as you work to still the mind in one place, which is difficult, you're going to gain a sense of what the yogis actually meant by yog chitta vritti nirod, that it wasn't metaphorical, it wasn't figurative when they were saying still the thought process. They were being, very specific. The mind must be suspended if you want to touch true nature, if you want to see the world from this meditative lens, which I assume you all do. And that's it. And we're going to get 2 days to practice this, but this is an integral and sort of monumental moment in a meditator's journey when we realize that the instruction to still the thought process, to wipe out the psyche, was deeply, deeply literal. Cool, so let's get into it, everyone. The exercise or technique is called rotation of consciousness. So comfortable seated pose, tilt your hips forward. Nice tall spine. Wrists resting on both your knees. Spread your fingers wide for a moment. Shut your jaw. Press your tongue into the back of your 2 front teeth. And now just enjoy that your arms are not over your head. And how easy this is in comparison. Bring a random finger to each thumb. And appreciate the finesse and grace of your hand gestures. The delicate beauty of that point of contact. And that speaks to each of us because all human beings are artistic. And in that simple gesture, that simple effort of a finger touching the thumb, there is this world of understanding, compassion, sensitivity, patience, presence. Lift your chest up a little more. And as you breathe, swell into your belly. As you inhale, the belly inflates. And then the chest inflates. As you exhale, stay tall. The belly pulls in. So the more deeply and regularly you breathe into the belly, the more relaxed your body will be, which means the more manageable your mind will be. And so if your thoughts are the waves of the ocean, your body is the moon governing the tides. Slow down the breath a little more and try to breathe even more deeply into the belly. If that's a struggle for you, that's okay. It's like exercise. You're working the strength of the respiratory muscles. You're working to expand their range of motion. But notice as you deepen your breath, even if it's a little bit of a struggle, there is a sense of calm and a sense of wakefulness. Now with your next inhale, quickly, eyes open, and as you exhale, eyes close, remembering interval meditation. As you inhale, the eyes open just once. As you exhale, they close. And then from that point on, take those perfect breaths, patient, present, and connected. And so we meditate because there is a dimension of suffering in our lives. We acknowledge that. That is an act of truth. We meditate because in some capacity we are curious of our own mystery. We believe there's more to us, more to the world. And we acknowledge that we don't know what that more necessarily is. And then we meditate because we are innately attracted to the inner experience, which suggests in some way we are disenchanted with the external experience. And so take a second to feel all of that while you hold your body in this specific way, while you manage your breaths. So the best way to fully arrest the mind, to stop thinking, is to replace all thought with feeling. The more willing and curious you are to feel the body, the easier it is to bypass the psyche. Focus on your forehead. Now feel your left eye. Very simple. And now the right eye. Now only with the mind, feel the tip of your nose. Feel your lips. And feel your chin. Right ear, left ear. Now feel your entire face. Now feel your entire head. Feel the center of your throat. Slow down your breath. Feel the center of your chest. Slow down the breath. Take a second and notice thoughts, judgments, narrating, distraction, memories, fantasies. Feel the left shoulder, left elbow, left wrist. Feel the left hand. Now feel the point of contact between your left finger and your left thumb. And at this point, appreciate that the mind makes things more real. As you focus on the point of contact between your finger and your thumb, that point of contact, that distinct experience, is more alive. It was always there, always happening, but now that your attention is focused on it, obviously, it's become something greater than it was. Now teleport your awareness to the other hand. Feel the finger touching the thumb. Now feel the whole hand. Right wrist, right elbow, right shoulder, back to your chest. Feel your stomach. Feel your belly button specifically. Feel your kidney region. Feel your entire spine. Feel your pelvis. Feel the left knee, left ankle, left foot, right foot, right ankle, right knee. Making our way back up, feel your belly button, your chest, your throat, and your forehead. Now feel the whole body as a single point. Slow down the breath. If it's difficult for you to feel your body, again, relying on techniques, just hold your breath for a while. Inhale, hold, exhale, hold, and as you build CO2, you'll force your attention, you'll force your brain to look into the body. And as you feel the body as a whole, buzzing, tingling, a sense of mass, a sense of lightness, a sense of pleasure, a sense of discomfort, as you feel the body as a whole, simultaneously observe that there are thoughts, commentary, narrations, judgments, emotions, and distractions. Notice that as the wave of confusion arises, am I doing this right? Am I doing this wrong? As that wave arises, for a moment you become confused. Then it passes, and you come back to feeling. And when the wave of impatience arises, for a flash you become impatient. And so if we can learn to fully feel, we give ourselves a chance to actually still the thought process, and in that discover what ancient meditators called the true self, sarupya. We're going to move a bit more quickly, a bit more erratically now. This is how the mind moves on its own. Forehead, left shoulder, right hand, stomach, chest. Stay in the chest, feel. Left hand, right leg, belly button, spine, forehead, left ear, tip of nose, right arm. Listen to the sounds around you. Come back to your throat, tongue, cheeks, both feet, hips, right hand. A little faster still. Left eye, left elbow, left foot. Right hand, left hand. Right arm, stomach, kidney region, top of the head, entire face, chest. Listen to the sounds around you. And come back to feeling the center of your chest. And so what I'd like you to do now is allow your awareness, your attention, to move through your body on its own. It's like a little fly buzzing here and there. If you can't feel that movement happening by itself, instigate it. Scan your body randomly, and then release control. Again, your brain is scanning the body to ensure everything is running normally. You're just catching a ride on this natural psychological process. Let's take a deep breath in. Slow breath out. So the mind moves through the body as well as through itself. The intention at this point is to arrest that movement. Hold your mind in the center of your chest. Breathe much more slowly, increase your focus, keep the mind there. It's like capturing a fly in your hands or in a cup. It still buzzes around, but its range of motion is decreased. takes huge amount of energy. Complete presence, hypersensitivity. And if we weren't aware of the reasons why this game and how costly it is would seem pointless. Keep the mind on the center of the chest. Gently boost your posture. Right, a gradual lengthening of the spine so it's not disruptive to your mental work. Slow down the breath. One more minute here. Increase your focus and feel it contract like a muscle. So meditation is the stilling of the thought process. When the mind is still, we experience our true nature. But that's a gradual process. As we still our minds more, our true nature becomes more apparent to us. When our minds are not still, we become those thoughts. So bring your hands to heart center, relax your shoulder blades, and again, lengthen the spine. Contain the mind in the chest and just appreciate, I am literally stilling my psyche. This is intense focus on very subtle things. This is meditation. Lift your thumb knuckles to third eye center. Feel the tingling pressure of your thumbs touching the skin of your forehead. And again, that same observation. I am very focused right now. My mind is being stilled. This is meditation. Take one more breath in. One more breath out. Hold your breath, release your wrists to your knees. Again, lengthen the spine. Holding the breath. Mindfully inhale through the nose. Again, hold the breath. Holding the breath with the lungs full, just repeat this phrase in the mind. When my mind is not still, I become my thoughts. Exhale. With your next breath in, open the eyes. And just feel that transition back to I am no longer meditating. And so that feeling of like no longer meditating is our consciousness re-adhering to our psyche, re-adhering to our identity, re-adhering to our opinions, re-adhering to all the things we have to do. And that contrast should inform you on, what exactly the yogis meant when they said you must still the mind to experience a deeper nature.